5 things to look out for when doing M&D activities. Hi, I'm your host, Coach Alexander. I'm so glad that you've joined me today. As you know, this is a brand new year full of activities, and I want to wish you all the very best as you start this year, 2022. You may realize that as monitoring and evaluation officer, one of the challenges or one of the big tasks that you have ahead of you is actually going into the field to do the actual groundwork. That is not usually a simple task. So this video is going to show to you just some pointers of the things you need to look out for when you actually do these activities. But before I go any further, I want to encourage you to enroll in the 6 months coaching program for the year 2022. This is a very good program. I've received quite a lot of inquiries. Some people have expressed interest. Others are just wanting to know how they can enroll. But I can tell you one thing, that it's very easy to enroll in this program. Of course, there's a fee attached to this. There's always going to be a fee. But I want to encourage you to enroll because this is a good program. It's going to equip you to become the best M&E officer. So please write to me at coachalexander23@yahoo.com. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into business. So the first thing is that when you go in the field as an M&E officer, you need to identify areas in the implementation that have worked well. You know, I have to tell you guys that it's always good to take pride in the success, in the things that you've done well, that you've achieved. Because what this does, it gives you further motivation to achieve more. And when other people get to know this news, especially the project management team, they feel motivated, they feel encouraged to push on. So you need to identify parts of the project which are doing well, and don't sugarcoat things. I mean, if there's nothing that is going well in the project, then don't report any success. But if the successes are there, you might as well report on them, because these are the things that are going to motivate the project team to do more. So when you go in the field, make sure that you try by all means to look for the areas of your strength. What is the project doing that is making them succeed? Now, the other thing is, when you go in the field, you also need to identify the areas of weaknesses. Where are the failures? What have you failed to do right? And the critical part of this is you're not just looking for the failings, all right? But you want to know why. Why have you failed? I'll give you an example. For example, let's say your target was to build, you have this housing project, and your target was to build 100 housing units, okay? 100 housing units. Now, you've discovered that your target is not being achieved. You only managed to do 10, okay? 10 housing units. Now, the question is why? Okay, why has this happened when you've provided all the resources that the project needs? So when you answer the why, you might even discover that it could probably be that probably you don't have the skilled personnel to do the building of these houses, or probably the money is not coming in on time. So those could be factors. And when the project management team gets to understand these weaknesses, they'll take corrective action, so that now, if it was an issue of late disbursement of funds, the project management team will try by all means to have those funds on time. So that's an example of why it's a good thing to identify areas in the project implementation that have failed. The third aspect, and this is something I like to talk about most of the time with my students, with my friends, sometimes I'll be talking to myself about this, is the data quality aspects. Now, what is quality? You see, when we talk of data, there's a certain standard that we want to achieve. So data has quality has certain dimensions to it. You've got validity and so on and so forth. So now, your role as M&D officer, when you go in the field, you obviously have the field staff. And those field staff are people that you rely heavily on to give you this data. Okay, so you need to check with them whether this data is accurate, okay, whether it's the right data in the first place. I've seen many projects, they will implement their activities and they won't collect all the data for their project, okay, because usually when you have a project, there's a project document which outlines all the indicators that need to be collected. So you discover that they won't collect the data for all those indicators, which is quite a sad thing. Or you might find out that they're collecting data that is not even required, and that can be a huge cost to the organization. So you need to verify that indeed so this is the correct data, because it borders a lot on quality. In the coming weeks, I'm going to show you how you can mathematically calculate quality of data. Now, the fourth thing is when you go in the field, it's also an opportunity for you to, like I mentioned, to interact with your field staff and the project beneficiaries. So in your interaction, you also want to get a feeling of whether these individuals actually understand the project. Why is that important? If you have a vision, you want everybody who is on board to be part of that vision. But if they don't understand what is going on, then they are not really part of the vision. And that is where sometimes the problem is. They may be doing things but not really doing it with the heart that is required. So the field staff need to understand, why is their role important? What is their role? Once they fully understand, once they fully engrave that into their hearts, they'll indeed register positive results. It also goes with the beneficiaries. The reason why the beneficiaries are important in this aspect is because they're actually the ones who feed you the data. So when they understand that the project is meant to help them, they'll help you by being honest when you interview them. They'll give you reliable responses that you can make and draw conclusions on. Finally, you want to ensure that all the activities being implemented in the project, when you go in the field, you want to ensure that all these activities are relevant to the project. Okay. Now, you might be saying that, how could they be irrelevant? Because, it's already in the project document. But I'm telling you, sometimes some of our personnel will be doing their own things, not according to what was planned or communicated to them. For example, I'll give you maybe another example. If your project has been designed to train farmers, okay, to give them that capacity building on how to grow crops, your field officers should be training the farmers specifically in that. Now, if you find out that the content of their training is not related to the farming practices, then they are diverting away from what is required. Okay, so there's that temptation sometimes to put in things that is not in the design of the project, that wasn't planned for. And sometimes you don't know why this is done, but it happens. So you want to ensure that actually whatever is happening in the field is relevant. It's actually part of what the project was initially intended to achieve. So I want to thank you so much for giving me this time. And these are some of the pointers. Remember, I'm going to try my best to be posting on a daily basis so that you can get the maximum benefit out of monitoring and evaluation. I've been your host, Coach Alexander, and see you on the other side.